Story number 10 of Lucy Maud Montgomery's short stories, 1905 to 1906. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Michelle Remington. Lucy Maud Montgomery Short Stories, 1905 to 1906, by Lucy Maud Montgomery. Story number 10. Her Own People. The Taunton school had closed for the summer holidays. Constance Foster and Miss Channing went down the long, elm-shaded street together, as they generally did, because they happened to board on the same block downtown. Constance was the youngest teacher on the staff, and had charge of the primary department. She had taught in Taunton school a year, and at its close she was as much of a stranger in the little corps of teachers as she had been at the beginning. The others thought her stiff and unapproachable. She was unpopular in a negative way with all except Miss Channing, who had made it her profession to like everybody, the more so if other people disliked them. Miss Channing was the oldest teacher on the staff, and taught the 5th grade. She was short and stout and jolly. Nothing, not even the iciest reserve, ever daunted Miss Channing. "Isn't it good to think of 2 whole blessed months of freedom?" she said jubilantly. 2 months to dream, to be lazy, to go where one pleases. No exercises to correct, no reports to make, no pupils to keep in order. To be sure, I love them every one, but I love them all the more for a bit of rest from them. Isn't it good? A little satirical smile crossed Constance Foster's dark, discontented face, looking just then all the more discontented in contrast to Miss Channing's rosy, beaming countenance. "It's very good, if you have anywhere to go, or anybody who cares where you go. For my own part, I'm sorry school is closed. I'd rather go on teaching all summer." "Heresy!" said Miss Channing. "Rank heresy! What are your vacation plans?" "I haven't any," said Constance wearily. "I've put off thinking about vacation as long as I possibly could. You'll call that heresy too, Miss Channing." "It's worse than heresy," said Miss Channing briskly. "It's a crying necessity for blue pills, that's what it is. Your whole mental, moral, physical, and spiritual system must be out of kilter, my child. No vacation plans? You must have vacation plans. You must be going somewhere." "Oh, I suppose I'll hunt up a boarding place somewhere in the country, and go there and mope until September." "You have no friends, Constance?" No, I haven't anybody in the world. That is why I hate vacation. That is why I've hated to hear you and the others discussing your vacation plans. You all have somebody to go to. It has just filled me up with hatred of my life." Miss Channing swallowed her honest horror at such a state of feeling. "Constance, tell me about yourself." "I often wanted to ask you, but I always was a little afraid to. You seem so reserved, and as if you didn't want to be asked about yourself." "I know it. I know I'm stiff and hateful, and that nobody likes me, and that is all my own fault. No, never mind trying to smooth it over, Miss Channing. It's the truth, and it hurts me, but I can't help it. I'm getting more bitter and pessimistic and unwholesome every day of my life. Sometimes it seems as if I hated all the world because I'm so lonely in it. I'm nobody. My mother died when I was born, and father, I don't know. One can't say anything against one's father, Miss Channing. But I had a hard childhood, or rather, I didn't have any childhood at all. We were always moving about. We didn't seem to have any friends at all. My mother might have had relatives somewhere, but I never heard of any. I don't even know where her home was. Father never would talk of her. He died 2 years ago, and since then I've been absolutely alone." "Oh, you poor girl," said Miss Channing softly. "I want friends," went on Constance, seeming to take pleasure in open confession now that her tongue was loosed. "I've always just longed for somebody belonging to me to love. I don't love anybody, Miss Channing, and when a girl is in that state she is all wrong. She gets hard and bitter and resentful. I have anyway. I struggled against it at first, but it has been too much for me. It poisons everything. There is nobody to care anything about me, whether I live or die." "Oh, yes, there is one," said Miss Channing gently. "God cares, Constance." Constance gave a disagreeable little laugh. "That sounds like Miss Williams. She's so religious. God doesn't mean anything to me, Miss Channing. I've just the same resentful feeling toward him that I have for all the world, if he exists at all. There, I've shocked you, in good earnest now. You should have left me alone, Miss Channing. God means nothing to you, because you've never had him translated to you through human love, Constance," Miss Channing said seriously. "No, you haven't shocked me. At least not in the way that you mean. I'm only terribly sorry." "Oh, never mind me," said Constance, freezing up into her reserve again as if she regretted her confidences. "I'll get on all right. This is one of my off days when everything looks black." Miss Channing walked on in silence. She must help Constance, but Constance was not easily helped. When school reopened, she might be able to do something worthwhile for the girl, but just now the only thing to do was put her in the way of a pleasant vacation. "You spoke of boarding," she said, when Constance paused at the door of her boarding house. "Have you any particular place in view? No? Well, I know a place which I'm sure you'll like. I was there 2 summers ago. It is a place in the country about 100 miles from here. Pine Valley is its name. It's restful and homey, and the people are so nice. If you like, I'll give you the address of the family I boarded with." "Thank you," said Constance indifferently. "I might as well go there as anywhere else." "Yes, but listen to me, dear. Don't take your morbidness with you. Open your heart to the summer and let its sun shine in, and when you come back in the fall, come prepared to let us all be your friends. We'd like to be, and while friendship doesn't take the place of the love of one's own people, still it is a good and beautiful thing. Besides, there are other unhappy people in the world. Try to help them when you meet them, and you'll forget about yourself. Goodbye for now, and I hope you'll have a pleasant vacation in spite of yourself." Constance went to Pine Valley, but she took her evil spirit with her. Not even the beauty of the valley, with its great balmy pines and the cheerful friendliness of its people, could exorcise it. Nevertheless, she liked the place, and found a wholesome pleasure in the long tramps she took along the piney roads. "I saw such a pretty spot in my ramble this afternoon," she told her landlady one evening. "It is about 3 miles from here at the end of the valley. Such a picturesque, low-eaved little house, all covered with honeysuckle. It was set between a big orchard and an old-fashioned flower garden with pines in the back." "Hardy's farm," said Miss Hewitt promptly. "Bless you, there's only one place around here of that description. Mr. and Mrs. Bruce, Uncle Charles and Aunt Flora, as we call them, live there. They're the dearest old couple alive. You ought to go and see them. They'd be delighted. Aunt Flora just loves company. They're real lonesome at times." "Haven't they any children?" asked Constance indifferently. Her interest was in the place, not in the people. "No, they had a niece once, though. They brought her up, and they just worshipped her. She ran away with a worthless fellow. I forget his name, if I ever knew it. He was handsome and smooth-tongued, but he was a scamp. She died soon after, and it just broke their hearts. They don't even know where she was buried, and they never heard anything more about her husband. I've heard that Aunt Flora's hair turned snow white in a month. I'll take you up to see her some day when I find time." Mrs. Hewitt did not find time, but thereafter Constance ordered her rambles that she might frequently pass Hardy's farm. The quaint old spot had a strange attraction for her. She found herself learning to love it, and so unused was this unfortunate girl to loving anything that she laughed at herself for her foolishness. One evening a fortnight later, Constance, with her arms full of ferns and wood lilies, came out of the pine woods above Hardy's farm just as heavy raindrops began to fall. She had prolonged her ramble unseasonably, and it was now nearly night, and very certainly a rainy night at that. She was 3 miles from home, and without even an extra wrap. She hurried down the lane. By the time she reached the main road, a few drops had become a downpour. She must seek shelter somewhere, and Hardy's farm was the nearest. She pushed open the gate and ran up the slope of the yard between the hedges of sweetbriar. She was spared the trouble of knocking, for just as she came to a breathless halt on the big red sandstone doorstep, the door was flung open, and a white-haired, happy-faced little woman standing on the threshold had seized her hand and drawn her in bodily before she could speak a word. "I saw you coming from upstairs," said Aunt Flora gleefully. and I just ran down as fast as I could. Dear, dear, you are a little wet, but we'll soon dry you. Come right in. I've a bit of fire in the grate, for the evening is chilly. They laughed at me for loving a fire so, but there's nothing like its snap and sparkle. You're reined in for the night, and I'm glad as I can be. I know who you are. You are Miss Foster. I'm Aunt Flora, and this is Uncle Charles. Constance let herself be put into a cushiony chair and fussed over with an unaccustomed sense of pleasure. The rain was coming down in torrents, and she certainly was domiciled at Hardy's farm for the night. Somehow she felt glad of it. Mrs. Hewitt was right in calling Miss Flora sweet and Uncle Charles a big, jolly, ruddy-faced old man with a hearty manner. He shook Constance's hand until it ached, threw more pine knots in the fire, and told her he wished it would rain every night if it rained down a nice little girl like her. She found herself strangely attracted to the old people. The name of their farm was in perfect keeping with their atmosphere. Constance's frozen soul expanded in it. She chatted merrily and girlishly, feeling as if she had known them all her life. When bedtime came, Aunt Flora took her upstairs to a little gable room. My spare room is all in disorder right now, dearie. We've been painting its floor. So I'm going to put you here in Jeannie's room. Some way you remind me of her, and you are just about the age she was when she left us. If it wasn't for that, I don't think I could put you in her room, not even if every other floor in the house was being painted. It is so sacred to me. I keep it just as she left it. Not a thing is changed. Good night, dearie, and I hope you'll have pleasant dreams. When Constance found herself alone in the room, she looked about her with curiosity. It was a very dainty, old-fashioned little room. The floor was covered with braided mats. The two square, small-paned windows were draped with snowy muslin. In one corner was a little white bed with white curtains and daintily ruffled pillows, and in the other was a dressing-table with a gilt-framed mirror and various knick-knacks of a girlish toilette. There was a little blue rocker and an ottoman with a work-basket on it. In the work-basket was a bit of unfinished yellowed lace with a needle sticking in it. A small bookcase under the sloping ceiling was filled with books. Constance picked up one and opened it at the yellowing title page. She gave a cry of surprise. The name, written across the page in fine, dainty script, was Jean Constance Irving. Her mother's name! For a moment Constance stood motionless. She turned impulsively and hurried downstairs again. Mr. and Mrs. Bruce were still in the sitting-room talking to each other in the firelight. "Oh," cried Constance excitedly, "I must know. I must ask you. This is my mother's name, Jean Constance Irving. Can it be possible she was your little Jeannie?" A fortnight later, Miss Channing received a letter from Constance. "I am so happy," she wrote. "Oh, Miss Channing, I have found my own people, and Hardy's farm is to be my own dear home for always. It was such a strange coincidence. No, Aunt Flora says it was Providence, and I believe it was too. I came here one rainy night, and Auntie put me in my mother's room. Think of it! My own dear mother's room, and I found her name in a book, and now the mystery is all cleared up, and we are so happy. Everything is dear and beautiful, and almost the dearest and most beautiful thing is that I'm getting acquainted with my mother, the mother I never knew before. She no longer seems dead to me. I feel that she lives and loves me, and I'm learning to know her better every day. I have her room and her books and all her little girlish possessions. When I read her books with the passages underlined by her hand, I feel as if she were speaking to me. She was very good and sweet in spite of her one foolish, bitter mistake, and I want to be as much like her as I can. I said this was almost the dearest and most beautiful thing. The very dearest and most beautiful is this. God means something to me now. He means so much. I remember that you said to me that he meant nothing to me because I had no human love in my heart to translate the divine. But I have now, and it has led me to him. I am not going back to Taunton. I have sent in my resignation, and I'm going to stay home with Auntie and Uncle. It is so sweet to stay home and know what it means. Auntie says you must come and spend all your next vacation with us. You see, I have lots of vacation plans now, even for a year ahead, After all, there is no need of the blue pills. I feel like a new creature, made over from heart and soul out. I look back with shame and contrition at the old Constance. I want you to forget her and only remember your grateful friend, the new Constance. End of Her Own People. Recorded by Michelle Remington.